Hello everyone. Let's discuss few questions from System of Particle and Rotational Motion. Exercise 7.1. Give the location of the center of mass of a sphere, cylinder, ring, cube, each of uniform mass density. Does the center of mass of a body necessarily lie inside the body? So let's discuss about the first one, that is a sphere. If you consider the sphere, the center of mass lies exactly at the geometric center. Okay. The next one is about the cylinder. If you draw an axis passing through the symmetry, so this is the axis of symmetry. Here also the center of mass lies in the exactly at the geometric center inside. Now third one is talking about the ring. You can see here in the ring also the center of mass lies exactly at the center where there is no mass is present. So this is the center of mass here. This is also geometric center. Next one is talking about a cube. Cube also, if you consider, the center of mass lies in the geometric center. If you join the diagonals will meet at one point, and that is the point where the center of mass here lies. The next question is talking about, does the center of mass of a body necessarily lie inside a body? Just to consider, this is a hollow cylinder. If you consider the hollow cylinder, the center of mass lies inside the body where there is no mass is present. Same way in the case of ring also, at the point of center of mass here there is no mass is present, and we can say that what it is not necessary that the center of mass of a body lie inside the body. Now let's discuss about the question number 2. In the HCl molecule, the separation between the nuclei of the two atoms is about 1.27 angstrom. This is an angstrom. 1 angstrom is equal to 10 to the power minus 10 meter. Find the approximate location of the center of mass of molecule given that the chlorine atom is about 35.5 times as massive as hydrogen atom and nearly all the mass of an atom is concentrated in nuclei. So just imagine this is the hydrogen and this is the chlorine. Okay, the distance between hydrogen and the chlorine, it is given the nearly 1.27 angstrom. Okay, 1.27 angstrom. Just imagine this HCl is now lie in XY plane. Okay, this is the X axis and this is the Y axis. If you consider this as origin, okay, this as the origin, we can say that this is the hydrogen and this is the chlorine. We can say that x1 is equal to 0. That means position of the hydrogen from the origin, it is equal to 0, and x2 is equal to now 1.27 angstrom. That means the position of Cl from the origin, which is given the x2, and that is equal to 1.27 angstrom. Okay, so now you can imagine that where is the center of mass. Center of mass may lie near to massive body. So here the massive body is here about the chlorine atom, right? So here nearly this one, this point is the center of mass. We just imagine. Now just consider this is the x is the center of mass position, or say it as xcm. So we can calculate here xcm using the formula. Xcm is equal to m1 x1 plus m2 x2 divided by m1 plus m2. Substitute the value here. What is the m1? M1 is the mass of what? Hydrogen, right? That is equal to 1. 1 into what is x1 is equal to 0 plus what is m2? M2 is the mass of chlorine, that is 35.5 times massive. So we can simply write here what 35.5 times into x2 is given there what 1.27 angstrom, all divided by m1 plus m2. What is m1 plus m2? 1 plus 35.5, that is equal to 1 into 0 0. So here we can write 35.5 into 1.27 angstrom. Okay, the answer will be getting in angstrom, divided by 1 plus 35.5, that is equal to what? 36.5. So you are getting the answer nearly 1.24 angstrom is the answer. Now let's discuss about the question number 3. A child sits stationary at one end of the long trolley moving uniformly with the speed v on a smooth horizontal floor. If the child gets up and run about the trolley in any manner, what is the speed of the center of mass become? In this case, the child is now running on the trolley. That means there is no external forces act on the system, right? There is no external force is acting on the system when the child run. So we can say that what there will be no change in the speed of center of mass of the system. So that means the speed of the center of mass become what? Same only. That means constant. Whatever value it was before, same value will be the, even though the child is running on the floor. Okay. Let's do the question number 7.4. Show that the area of the triangle contained between the vectors A and B is one half of the magnitude of A cross B. Okay. So let's consider there are two vectors are given there. One is vector A, should be straight line, and another vector is given the, that is the vector B. If you construct a triangle with the given two vectors a and b, we can say here this is a OPQ, okay, where OP vector, what is a OP vector? That is equal to a vector, and what is OQ vector? OQ vector is equal to b vector. Just to draw a perpendicular from Q towards the OP and say that name N, okay. Now this is the angle theta. Theta is the angle between the vector A and vector B. From the triangle ONQ, you can look at the picture here. Sine theta is equal to opposite side divided by hypotenuse, that is equal to OQ, or sine theta is equal to QN divided by OQ. OQ is equal to what? B, right? So we can write Qn is equal to B sine theta. This is the equation number 1. Let's see this one. Now, as we already know, vector A cross vector B is equal to AB sine theta into unit vector. So what is the magnitude of vector A cross B? That is equal to AB sine theta. We can write this equation as vector A cross B magnitude is equal to, what is A here? A means OP, right? A means OP into B sine theta. B sine theta we have just now discussed. What is B sine theta? That is equal to Q into N. So we can write once again vector A cross vector B is equal to, just write here OP into Qn, multiply and divide by 2. Multiply and divide by 2. So we can write this equation as half into, okay, half into OP into Qn into 2. Okay, same equation only. What is half into OP into Qn? See what is OP? OP is the base and Qn is the height. That means half into OP into Qn means what? That is the area of triangle POQ. So we can write here what? Area of triangle POQ into 2, that is equal to modulus of A cross B. That means what is the area of OPQ? Area of triangle OPQ is equal to 1 by 2 times the modulus of A cross B. So what we have proved here, the area of the triangle contained between the vector A and B is equal to what? 1/2 of the magnitude of A cross B. Hence we proved this question. Okay. Now let's do the question number 7.5. Show that A dot B cross C is equal in magnitude to the volume of the parallel pipe formed on the three vectors ABC. So just to consider one parallel pipe here. So in this parallel pipe there are three vectors you can consider as, this is the vector A, okay, this is the vector A, and this is the vector B, and this is the vector C. You can see vector B and C are lies in one plane, correct? B and C are lie in the one plane. So we can just give the name here. This is the O, and this is A, and this is B, and this is C. So we can write here vector OA is equal to A vector. Same way OB vector is equal to B vector, correct? Same way OC vector is equal to C vector, correct? Now you can see here the vector B and C lies in the same plane. If you find B cross C, vector B cross vector C, if you use a right hand thumb rule, curl your fingers from B to C, the thumb represents what? Upward direction. That means in the picture, this is giving what? Vector B cross vector C. Now what do you require here? We require here A dot B cross C. This is what we are going to prove here. A dot B cross C. So if you know the formula, A dot B is equal to AB cos theta. Here instead of B, it is B cross C. So I can write this formula as A into, right, B cross C. So better write in magnitude, A vector magnitude into B cross C magnitude into cos theta. So you can see here B cross C is acting in this direction. A cos theta, you see this is the A, and if you consider this is a theta, A cos theta also will be acting in this direction, right? So what we can write here, this is equal to A dot B cross C is equal to, right, modulus of B cross C into modulus of A into cos theta. Here modulus of B cross C, see this one, modulus of B cross C, we will be getting base area of the parallel pipe. What will be getting here? Base area of parallel pipe, B cross C magnitude, into magnitude of A into cos theta. Magnitude of A into cos theta, you will be getting from this diagram, you can see that is the height of the parallel pipe. What is the height of the parallel pipe? Now you can see here base into height, that is equal to volume, right? So what you are getting here, vector A dot vector B cross C is equal to the volume of the parallel pipe. We will be getting what? Volume of the parallel pipe. So this is the question number 7.5. Now let's discuss about the question number 6. Find the components along the xyz axis of the angular momentum L of the particle whose position vector is r with the components xyz and momentum is p with the components px, py and pz. Show that if the particle moves only in the xy plane, the angular momentum has only a z component. Okay. So now to prove that one, as we already know what is the angular momentum means. Angular momentum, I am writing here capital L. Angular momentum L is equal to r vector cross p vector. R vector cross p vector. And as you already learned, angular momentum vector is equal to Lx I cap plus Ly j cap plus Lz k cap. All the three components are there here. Same way, r vector is equal to rx I cap, or better write here x I cap plus y j cap plus z k cap. Correct? Same way, momentum vector p is equal to px I cap plus py j cap plus pz k cap. The angular momentum we can write in terms of determinants. We can write like this: I cap, j cap, k cap. Okay. Next one, position vector x, y, z. Same way, component of momentum px, py and pz. I vector is equal to ypz minus zpy minus j vector into xpz minus zpx plus k vector into xpy minus ypx. That means we can see here Lx is equal to ypz minus zpy. Same way Ly is equal to xpz minus zpx. If you take this minus sign inside, the Ly can be written as what? Ly is equal to zpx minus xpz. Same way Lz is equal to xpy minus ypx. Okay. So what is the next question is talking about? Show that if the particle move only in the xy plane, the angular momentum has only a z component. Okay, that means if the particle is constrained to move only in the xy plane, then what is the value of z? Z is equal to 0. If so, what is the value of pz? Pz is also equal to 0. So we can prove from this equation Lx is equal to 0 because y into pz is 0 minus z is 0. Same way Ly, if you consider z is equal to 0, here pz is equal to 0. So Lx and Ly become 0. So only what is the Lz component? Lz is equal to what? Xpy minus ypx. It won't come to 0, right? What we have proved here, if the particle is constrained to move only in the xy plane, the angular momentum has only one component, that is along z component. Let's do exercise 7.7. Two particles each of mass m and speed v travel in opposite direction. So just to consider, this is one mass traveling in this direction, say it as v. Another particle is moving in opposite direction, say it as v, and this is also mass m. Okay. So distance between these two particles is what? D. The distance between these two particles is given the small d. Show that the vector angular momentum of two particle system same whatever be the point about which the angular momentum is taken. So just imagine we will be drawing this one along the xy plane. Consider this is the x-axis, okay, and this you can consider it as the y-axis. Now the distance between the two particles along x-axis is given the distance is given the d. Just imagine from the origin this distance you can consider it as x value, okay. So what is the total angular momentum of two particle system? So if there are two particle system are there, so we can write here total angular momentum is equal to L1 plus L2. That means L1 mean the angular momentum of first particle, L2 mean the angular momentum of second particle. So we can write here angular momentum is equal to R1 cross P1 plus R2 cross P2. Okay, R1 cross P1 and R2 cross P2. What is now R1? What is the R1 here for the first particle? What is the position vector from the origin? That is given the x, right? So we can write here x into I cap, that is along the x axis. So x I cap cross what is the P1 of the first particle? First particle is moving in this direction, so the momentum vector is also acting in the same direction. Along which axis? Minus j cap. Upward is taken as plus j, right? This is a plus j, but the momentum vector is showing downward, so it can be taken as what? Minus j. So we can write here what? Minus mv into j cap plus second particle. What is the position from the origin? We can write here x plus d into I cap cross what is next one? P2 is showing upward in the same direction of j cap, right? So we can write here what? Mv into j cap. So here we can write here x into, right, x into minus mv, and we can write here I cross j cap. Okay, I cross j cap plus, you see this one, we can write like this, x plus d into mv, then I cross j cap. As we already learned, I cross j cap is equal to k cap. So k cap you can take it as a common one. Remaining one you multiply here, minus mvx plus mv into x plus mvd, right? mvx minus mvx cancel. So remaining one, what we are getting, the mvd into k cap. That means angular momentum is equal to what? Mvd into k cap. So what is the meaning here? Angular momentum does not depends on x value, that means the distance, and hence on the origin. So we can say that what angular momentum of two particle system is same whatever be the point about with the angular momentum is taken. This is not depends upon what? X value. Okay, I hope you understood this one. We will discuss the remaining questions later. Thank you all of you.